Welcome back to Gillette Stadium, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia, joined as always by Patriots expert columnist for WEEI.com, Christopher Price. Chris, we have seen some ugly Patriot wins this season, I think it's safe to say, but the one they pulled off here Sunday at Gillette Stadium, 27-17 over the Miami Dolphins, I think really speaks a lot to the toughness, as Rob Ninkovich spoke about in the locker room after this game.
It really does. I think this was a team that really played maybe one of their worst stretches of football through the first two quarters that I can remember over the last 5 or 6 years, really. They struggled to do anything on either side of the ball. They couldn't get any sort of offensive consistency. They couldn't stop much of what Miami was doing. They were getting poor play out of their special teams. They were able to turn it around. They were able to finally put together a really good third quarter after struggling over the first 7 games of the season in the third quarter. And in the end, they were able to come out with a win. Really, it was a tale of two halves.
What you said after the game in the tunnel as we waited to go into the locker room, I thought was very interesting. We've seen this team play poorly against some superior competition and get beat. But let's face it, the Miami Dolphins are still in a transitional phase. They don't have a lot of game breakers. Even Mike Wallace, I wouldn't consider the way he's playing this year that much of a game breaker. And yet they struggled against a very ordinary team. We are not used to seeing that, especially here with in the middle of the regular season.
That's true. I think right out of the gate, it was clear that they were struggling on both sides of the ball. But again, offensive consistency, getting defensive stops, getting off the field on third down defensively. All of that was an issue. It was a perfect storm for this team through the first two quarters. They were able to rise above. They were able to make the necessary adjustments at halftime. For the first time, I thought, all year, they were able to do a lot of good things on both sides of the ball. And then, of course, that 2-minute stretch there in the third quarter where they were able to come away with 2 touchdowns. All of a sudden, it goes from 17-3 to 17-17. You got a whole new ballgame at that point.
Tom Brady, 25 yards passing at halftime, a 16.7 quarterback rating. I tweeted out very sarcastically, hashtag makes Mark Sanchez blush. And that's what it was like watching Brady. He totally looked out of sorts.
Yep.
First of all, I got to ask you, do you think he's hurt, and do you think his right hand is banged up?
I think he's banged up a little bit. I don't know to what extent he's hurt, but I think right now you're looking at a quarterback who's not at 100% physically. Now, he's going to tell you, hey, we're all playing with injuries this time of year. It's just part of the game. But you can see some of the screenshots from this game, from the broadcast. His right hand is clearly swollen, whether it's a finger, whether it's a hand or wrist, whatever the case may be. There is some sort of physical issue with the quarterback. How that's going to affect him going forward, we don't know. They have the Pittsburgh next week, and then they have the bye week. So they do have, after Pittsburgh, they do have a bit of a downtime, and it's going to be interesting to see how that responds. I imagine he's going to be getting treatment. I imagine he's going to, try and get something fixed, at least mechanically, and try and deal with that going forward. But right now, he's clearly suffering with some sort of hand problem.
Okay, 2 things I think really picked up Tom Brady in the second half. First of all, the defense. There were 3 huge plays in this game. One was the corner blitz, which we don't see very often from a Bill Belichick defense. Logan Ryan, the rookie, getting through to Ryan Tannehill, forcing the fumble. Rob Ninkovich recovers. Brandon Bolden's game-tying touchdown moments later. We saw the interception. Marquise Cole, after Devin McCourty, covered Mike Wallace along the sideline right there.
Phenomenal play.
Beautiful play. Maybe the defensive player of the year so far. And the Dante Hightower sack of Ryan Tannehill when the Dolphins were up 17-3, driving in for what would have been a 3-touchdown lead type of score. I think those 3 plays really picked up Brady. And the other thing I think, Chris, that really picked up Brady was finally we saw a running game from Stephen Ridley and also Brandon Bolden.
Exactly. I thought the Patriots ran the ball consistently in the second half as well as they've done all year. Ran the ball 22 times in the third and the fourth quarter. Were able to get some good chunk yardage. Ridley ran hard. Blunt ran hard. Bolden ran hard. They were able to get the kind of good, consistent yardage that we haven't seen from this group simply because they haven't handed them the ball a whole lot in the second half for whatever reason over the first 6 or 7 games of the year. I thought the Hightower sack, that led to the missed field goal, and that played a huge role. Now, I want to also bring up the fact that both Logan Ryan and Stephen Ridley talked in the locker room a few moments ago after the game. We asked them, was their first quarter absence, did it have anything to do with discipline, with benching, with whatever? They just said, no, it's just game plan. So it was interesting to see those 2 guys sitting very early on, but playing a very big role late in the game.
Do you buy that?
It's a great story. I'll say that it's a great story. I don't necessarily buy it. Both those guys are very smart guys, and they know, they know what they can say in certain situations. So I can't imagine what Ridley might have done to incur a benching, or at least some sort of first quarter talking to from the coach that meant he was going to sit down through the first quarter. Ryan, we all know what happened last week against the Jets. He had the crotch grab, and that might be a residual effect. Not seeing him on the field in the first quarter. But again, those two guys played very big roles down the stretch for this team.
Big picture, this team, the Patriots, 6-2 now, heading into the Steelers game, like you mentioned, a very good chance with that game being at home, going 7-2 into the bye. They have a chance right now to really, we've said this the last couple of weeks, grab hold of the AFC Eastern Division.
Yeah, they can. And you look at the fact that, at least as we're taping now, the Jets are struggling with the Bills and the Patriots have knocked off the Dolphins. They're able to, after this, after today, there could be some separation for the first time in the AFC East, and then that will allow them to focus on bigger picture stuff. Focus on, the possibility of getting a first round bye. Focus on, jockeying for position when it comes to those top 2 seeds. But it all starts with the division race, and you still have some questions, at least right now, with the division race. But again, another win over Miami in December. They face the Bills again later in the year. Those wins, that'll go a long way towards sealing the division, another division title for New England.
It wasn't pretty. It was, though, in the final result, and that's all that matters here in Foxborough, as always. The Patriots scored 24 unanswered points, and they come from behind, erase a 17-3 halftime deficit, and beat the Miami Dolphins 27-17. For Christopher Price, I'm Mike Petraglia, WEEI.com.